Wow, what a wedding episode that was. It certainly delivered. We have one happy couple and two collapse before the altar. But let's dive in. Welcome to Reality TV Therapy with me, Dr. Diane. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Dr. Diane Strakowski. So many new followers here. I am so excited, but just a little bit of light housekeeping. I'm back from my trip to LA, where, if you know, I also comment on The Bachelor. But today I'm having an Oscar party, hence the fancy earrings, and there's just so much going on. This episode definitely delivered. And I want to talk more about the psychology. I want to talk about intergenerational trauma. I want to talk about cheating. And as a psychologist, I honestly have to say that this was probably one of the best episodes on TV I've ever seen. And Rita, Margarita, Clay's mother, is the MVP of the season. But let's start in sequential order with Jimmy and Chelsea. In my last video, I talked about why Jimmy stays. My analysis was that it's because Jimmy's family, they tolerate negative behavior, and that's kind of the family motto. For many of you, what I really love about my channel is that many of you said, I hadn't thought about that before. Looking inward, looking at your own family. What messages did you get about marriage, about love? Because here's the thing, lately, marriage has been on the decline. And we have to look at families and where we get this orientation, not just society, but what's really going on. So those comments that you write about realizing maybe your own family patterns, that's why I do what I do. But finally, the final date with Jimmy and Chelsea. They're riding the roller coasters. What a metaphor for their relationship, right? Up and down. It's the evening portion where they go a little bit deeper. Now, Jimmy, I actually think at this point, he's doing a nice job trying to find out what Chelsea really thinks and feels. And Chelsea's going on and on about her own ambivalence, about how she feels, but you get the feeling that Chelsea is used to kind of being in control in the situations, or at least even Jimmy keeps saying to her, or he had before this episode, how much he loves her. And I think that gave her a little bit of bravado, but what was missing for me was Chelsea's accountability. Imagine, and I know I'm just armchairing this, but imagine if Chelsea said something like, Jimmy, I know I've been a pain lately. Thanks for asking how I am. I imagine you're probably looking at me like, wow, who is this woman? But the truth is, the stress has really gotten to me. And I think as our relationship goes on, I'll really calm down. I'll be different. But I know I betrayed your trust. And if you would find it in your heart to forgive me, I think the rest is going to be better. This experiment has just been a lot. Okay. If she had said something like that, I would have been really fascinating to see what Jimmy's response might be. Now, let's talk about Jimmy. Remember, his dad had said things like, your mother is such a nag. But Jimmy was done, in my estimation, the moment that Chelsea spilled the private tea about his friend, right? I know you had sex with her. And so that was the moment. Now, what's fascinating to me is that sometimes people can get angrier for someone else than they can for themselves. Have you ever seen this? Like when someone's affect is a little bit down, the partner sometimes over responds. Well, Jimmy now is responding to his friend and supporting them. Not because I think he's in love with this woman, but because now he can actually analyze and see Chelsea's behavior. And this really is a trust issue. We have to remember that trust is really fragile, especially at the beginning of a relationship when they just don't have that kind of foundation. So I actually really respect Jimmy for breaking it off before the wedding and not trying to embarrass Chelsea in front of her friends and family. So then we talk about Chelsea. She's having her reaction. I can't believe that you did this to me after only one thing. I said I was sorry. She's really kind of minimizing here. And when Jimmy said, you know what, this is kind of confirming my decision, to me, this was the mic drop, kind of like deep D at the altar saying, I choose me. So what we missed then is what we might have seen Chelsea. I know this is horrible, but people were talking about Chelsea at the reveal, kind of like her T-Rex run. We missed that at the wedding. But I did predict that this couple should not get married and wouldn't get married. And that is what happens here. So, what can we learn in summation about Jimmy and Chelsea? Well, one, if you can relate to Chelsea because you also have an anxious attachment style, and I've said it in other videos, I too had an anxious attachment style, do your work. I have courses, I help people figure out how not to be so anxious. But here's the one thing I'd say to Chelsea from the beginning: don't exaggerate. Okay, Chelsea exaggerated, right? Saying that she looked like Megan Fox, saying, and I don't think this is an exaggeration, but being someone different than she was, pretending to be the cool girl when she's not. If she had just presented herself more authentically, been more her true self, there wouldn't have been the mistrust. But the trust wasn't just about the betrayal of the friend and him having sex with her. The betrayal was when she said she was someone that she wasn't. And that's what started Jimmy thinking, right? That look, we all saw the reveal look when he's like, oh my gosh, what else? Now, I also have to call Jimmy responsible for his part. He probably should have taken more kind of time out. I know it was incredibly hard for him to say, listen, you're drunk, let's stop this conversation. But I do think that from the beginning, only because Jess on Nick Viall's podcast and other people, everyone said that Jimmy is the one to get, kind of like. I think he liked that too, coming across so confident about marriage, as opposed to a secure person would have what I call a wait and see approach. Like, yes, I'd love to be married, but I have to see what a fit we are. So I think that was the one thing that I would recommend to Jimmy, is have a more wait and see approach instead of kind of over promising at the start and then finding out that that's not a fit for you. So this couple, I really wish that they both just take time out. We'll see what happens in the reunion, which I think is going to be fascinating. All right, now continuing on with the theme, we've got the Bachelor, Bachelorette party for the woman, the pivotal conversation between AD and Amy. What this signified for me is just how certain Amy was. She said she's 98, 99% certain that Johnny's going to say yes. And my heart just sank for AD at this point because she's not that confident about Clay. And let's face it, that men's bachelor party was like really lame, especially compared to other seasons where they've done like, what was it, the bull chasing. This one just fell flat for me. But also, you can see the difference between Johnny being certain versus Clay. Now, let's get to what everybody wants to talk about, which is AD and Clay's wedding day. What a beautiful setting. I just have to say that. AD walks in, there's turquoise everywhere, there's that backdrop. She looks amazing. Her friends, her family, her mom turns out. Everyone is looking amazing. She has that veil on. Here's the fascinating part. The part that I like to analyze is the family. As I said in my last video, families are my jam. Clay's dad. I found this actually quite frustrating. Let me know in the comments what you think. Because they both are hyping each other up. Oh, you look amazing. You look amazing. What a great suit. But his dad at this early part is talking about relationships like sports analogies, right? Stay true to yourself, son. He's like Tony Robbins. He has all kinds of like pep talk things, but he confuses sports with people. And then he's also quick, Trevor, Clay's dad, is quick to blame his own father for not having been there.
I didn't get it from my father because my father wasn't. He wasn't present. He wasn't present. You know, he was doing his own thing.
But it's like he has amnesia. He's not thinking about the impact of his behavior on his son. This is intergenerational trauma where it's passed down from generation to generation and there's no healing that happens. I'm going to get to that. But this is exactly a definition of that. And let's face it, Trevor probably did it better than his own father who was absent for him. But what is a fail for me is taking accountability that he didn't model something better for his son. And here's the thing, I didn't hear any of it. I didn't hear any regret. Did you? He somehow still wants to be a hero in Clay's mind. I'm here for you, son. I support you. Now, here's when Clay is talking about in the ITM, in the moment. He's like on that fence and he's talking about how marriage is a gray area and that not enough people are discussing this. I'm like, what do you mean, Clay? It's like he wants to get props that he's the man who's talking about temptation. Well, anyone who's been married knows there is temptation out there, but I'm not quite sure what Clay is going for. He's also talking about being worried about AD's finances. It's like, Yeah, okay. But when you marry somebody, you sort of take that on. So I do see some growth though, right? He's now talking about his dad being a smooth guy and that he wanted to be like his dad, but he didn't take on the cons of his dad. In that moment, I feel like something is trying to change. But here's what's sad for me as a therapist. He said, my dad poured into me. We watched this. Now, maybe this conversation was much longer and they've obviously just edited it and truncated it. But when he says that, my dad poured into me, it's like this is something new that's happening. And I feel for the young Clay who was really victim of all of this, but he's probably worried that if he confronts his dad, he's going to lose him forever. Okay? Keep that, hold that, because I think that's a big issue going on here. Now, this would have been a perfect moment for Trevor, Clay's dad, to say, hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you were a young kid. You didn't deserve that. Your mother was a wonderful person and I messed up. Don't do what I did. Whether Clay gets married to AD or not, it would have been an amazing moment to break that intergenerational trauma and say, please learn from my mistakes. Okay, now we're at the wedding ceremony. Now, can I just say, take a look. I had to slow this down, stop it, and look at the drone shot. We're at AD and Clay's wedding, and there's barely any people there, especially compared to Amy and Johnny's. I counted very few people. At the altar, AD and Clay confirm how much they mean to one another. AD thinks that it's normal. I can rock with you. We know that she's ready. She took the experiment seriously, but she did also miss the red flags. And you have to wonder what Clay might have been saying off camera too, because I get the feeling that AD, I said this in one of my first videos, she was pretty quick with Matthew, like, I'm out. Was he telling her something else? Now, Clay says, I can't, in good faith, kind of move forward, right? That he isn't deep in love with AD. And here again, I'm confused. I'm like, deep in love. Deep in love usually happens after years of a commitment. So I think it's, again, his expectations of where he should be compared to what he is. At the end of the day, I actually think this is the right decision for both people. Clay isn't ready. How many times have we heard that? But he still could have done a Jimmy and broke up with AD besides at the altar. And that's what everybody's just feeling bad for AD, that she deserved better. So now she's at the altar. He says he can't move forward. She grabs her girls and says, I'm out of here. But can we talk about those young girls too? The nieces, I assume. They're sitting around watching this. Like, this is what a wedding is. A man says no to you at the altar. My heart sank at this moment. Dad, of course, Trevor, pulls Clay and says that was mature. Clay says, should I talk to her? And it's about appearances again, like how you look. You don't want to appear that you don't care. Encourages Clay, which I think is the right thing, to go to AD. He is still self-focused. I said this from the beginning. He has an anxious attachment style. Why? Because he expects AD to calm him down. He says, give me a hug. Oh, I feel bad that you're crying. He's looking for her, even in her moment of grief, to console him, to regulate him. Not thinking about her, just like, please stop crying so I don't have to feel bad. Like, you're not getting my words and my behaviors. I'm not rejecting you. Yes, you are. And what I did love about AD is where she says, I know you got a lot out of this, but I was a sacrifice. Now that's my mic drop for AD. Yes, she was. She was like the sacrificial lamb. Now, I'm hoping after all of this, and this has been at least a year, that she is going to have time to heal, that she's going to be with someone who treats her well. But be careful, because men will do this to you. I'm just going to stop for a moment, tell you a personal experience. I was dating this guy many years ago, found out that he was a pathological liar. He had lied to me about multiple things. And I found out about him. I was very calm. I actually broke up with him and said, this isn't going to work. Back to, we don't have a lot of trust. I can't move forward with this. But he desperately wanted me, like Clay, to remain friends, like to make it okay for him. And I said, here's the thing. Kind of like I hope AD says to Clay, I can't do that for you, because if I absolve you, like in Catholic faith, right, I absolve you from your sins, then you don't really have to sit with your anxiety, because you just continue to believe you're a good person. Sit with it. That's yours. You need to look in the mirror and own what you did and why. That's the growth. Okay, let's go to the conversation between Margarita and Trevor. because that was pure gold. I'm calling her Rita. Rita went through so much, and my God, this woman, she is the epitome of strength and boldness, and she has had years to formulate this conversation, but she also got new information, right? She didn't know, as it turns out, that Clay, as 7, had to go with the dad to his affairs. Okay. She sets Trevor faith. She doesn't mince words. She starts talking about Clay, that he struggles with marriage. Is it sacred? All of those emotions, he took that to the altar. You'll have to explain and apologize. Perfect. So that closure can be had. The marriage and the commitment. Clay saw things he shouldn't have seen. He had to wonder, is it real or a lie? So no wonder he's walking into marriage thinking it doesn't work. And he is already 30, right? So Trevor says, I didn't have the best of role models. Again, kind of referring back to the intergenerational part. And this is where Rita shines. She said, I always told you I forgave you. But then now new information has come up. And although we came from broken families, part of your DNA is that you can't bring it with you. And he even said, what stopped the bleeding, right? She is now defending her son. He wants to be in a long-term relationship. He's clearly come to his mother and said that. But that this is what is holding him back. And then, of course, Trevor says, yeah, he needs to meet someone like you. Well, AD could be like Rita. And Rita, this is her mic drop, says, yeah, you met me, but you weren't good to me. Boom. Loved it. Loved it. Now, let me pause for a moment here. I've got to talk about some interesting things. Let's talk about cheating. Is it a genetic thing? Is it an addiction? What does intergenerational trauma mean, and how can we break it? So now cheating, is it in your DNA? Well, we talk about something called like nature and nurture. Your nature is your genetics, your biology, what you come with, like your blood type, your DNA. And nurture is more what you see, what you observe. Cheating, interesting enough, some people will call it a love addiction, a sex addiction. Why? Because when you are being unfaithful, say you have a girlfriend or you're having sex with multiple people, there's an excitement element to it. You're getting a dopamine rush. Your brain gets excited from that process, from the pursuit. So you get addicted to that level, and you can see that a long-term relationship compared to that would fall flat. Now here's the nurture part, the part where you see and witness behaviors. Imagine for a moment that you're Clay. I'm a 7-year-old boy. My dad is taking me in his car to go to his affair person. What am I, playing in the car? Or I don't, what am I doing? My dad comes back into the car, and can you imagine? He's all smiles. He comes back and maybe women are amazing, or wasn't that fun, or something, something, something. What message do you think this young boy has? That that's fun, that's powerful, that's good, that's my cool dad. And then here's my mom, probably at home because she's wondering where her husband is, sad, maybe they're having fights. You can imagine how that is. This is where the mom is so right, saying that you need to take accountability and apologize. Think about it. If you've had a hurt with your parents, have they apologized to you? Think about how powerful an apology is. I'm so sorry, you deserve better. You were a young kid. I could have done better. Okay, breaking intergenerational trauma means that the past is broken. Okay, we don't even realize that we do take on our parents' relationship issues. Okay, and it's okay to let go of it. That's what Clay needs, permission to break the cycle, letting go of the past. And really, if Trevor said something to Clay, again, about regret, about that don't do what I do, but we don't know where he is, we don't know where he lands. Now, my feeling is that Clay was going to say no matter what, right? That maybe the producers pushed him to get to the altar. I don't know. My sense is that he was always telling us that he wasn't ready. What can we learn? We can learn. Do your work. If you have children yourself, think about the apologies you need to make. I will tell you this, it is powerful. I have clients whose parents pass. They're always wanting their parents' approval. It's natural. And if you have something to apologize for, try to repair it when your parent's still alive. Take ownership for your behaviors. Say, I'm sorry I hurt you. Not I'm sorry if, I'm sorry and, I'm sorry but, just I'm sorry. Okay, if Clay was more healed, he would have maybe sided more with his mother, confronted his dad. If he was more secure, he wanted to have needed so much validation from AD. If AD were more secure, she wanted to work so hard, right? That conversation where she's just saying, I'm so close so many times and I'm just not enough. A secure person doesn't have that thought. Okay, so both of these people have work to do. But what can you learn? Look at yourself, your history. And at the end of the day, this whole story is that Clay's mom is the real star of this season. And if she didn't get remarried, because I didn't see a ring on her finger, can we make her the Golden Bachelorette? Because I follow that show and I would love to see a woman with her poise be the Golden Bachelorette. I'm just putting it out there. Let's now talk about our only couple, Amy and Johnny. How many people even stay to the end? Let me know in the comments. But this was a real wedding. What I love most is the families coming together. Johnny's sister, Amy's dad, he is really a spokesperson. Amy's mom, again, is a little bit more quiet. We don't hear much from her, but this is a beautiful blending, and the experiment works. Love is blind. Amy all along said that she wouldn't have chosen somebody like Johnny, but she has, and I really do love this couple together. And look at the number of people at the wedding. In the drone image, they all turned out because you knew they were both going to say yes. The flowers were spectacular, the toast, the dancing. I loved everything about this wedding. And this is why I watch the show, right? I watch the show for a little bit of drama, for a little bit of love, because we all like a happy ending. In summary, the whole season, and we're going to have the reunion, stay tuned, you've probably heard the quote, understand your history so you are not destined to repeat it. Reflect, sift through the memories, examine your experiences you have growing up. Only you can identify your inherited relational patterns. Once you have a sense of where you came from and how it affected you, you're in a better position to make any desired change. Okay, if you have a parent, if you are a parent, think about your apologies. Nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. But you have to have sincerity about it, remorse if necessary, take responsibility, own and learn from it. What do you want to know? Okay, moving forward now, what do you want to know at the reunion? Because I have so many questions. Drop yours in the comments. Has Clay gotten therapy? He said multiple times he was going to go. Has AD reunited with Matthew? Did she ever meet Matthew? Because everyone was saying, oh, he looks like Clark Kent. I don't know. He had his issues. I would love to just see AD with a wonderfully healed man. Okay. Is Laura going to be there on the previews? I saw she's not going to be there. She's going to be on Zoom. What about Jeremy and Sarah Ann? Is he going to ride up in a jet ski? Wouldn't that be funny? Is Trevor going to come clean? Is Jess with someone else from the show because they intimated that? Have Amy and Johnny figured out how to use condoms? And will we have two Love is Blind babies? Because if you follow from previous seasons, Bliss is pregnant. Not sure when she's due. So is Alexa. And hopefully Vanessa and Nick Lachey will be more content with that. But so much more from the reunion. Stay tuned for that. Let me know. Please subscribe. Get the notifications because you don't want to miss a single one. And that's a wrap.